Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. Just please, if those who did not grab breakfast, just grab it. Don't worry, we will start, but you could do it quietly, inshallah. So today, inshallah, we will have two sessions. The first one, well, we usually have two sessions. The first one will be on al-Mu'ayana, which is beholding. Mu'ayana would be eyeing. We call it beholding. And this is station number 83 of Imam al-Harawi's book, Manaazil As-Saa'ireen. And the next session will be on the first chapter, the book of marriage. It's the first chapter in the fiqh al-usra, or fiqh of family, insha'Allah ta'ala. So we'll start with Imam al-Harawi here and his book Manaazil As-Saa'ireen. And he says in station number 83, al-Mu'ayana, beholding. قال الله عز وجل ألم تر إلى ربك كيف مد الظل. قال الله عز وجل ألم تر إلى ربك كيف مد الظل. And I chose Yusuf Ali's translation here, although usually I use Sahih International. I chose Yusuf Ali's translation because it basically is closer to what the Shaykh intended to say. Allah the Almighty said, hast thou not turned thy vision to thy Lord, how he doth prolong the shadow? Have you not turned your vision to your Lord, how he prolongs the shadow? Have you not turned your vision to your Lord, how he prolongs the shadow? Alam tara ila rabbika kayfa madda adh-dhill. Well, certainly this, if the Shaykh means that this, have you not seen your Lord, then it does not mean that, because it is basically referring to witnessing the actions, witnessing your Lord through his actions, beholding your Lord through manifestations of his attributes and his actions, and how he prolonged the dhill is a manifestation of his attributes, and in the Arabic language that basically would be the understanding of this. So I think that the Shaykh was intending to say that you can behold your Lord through the manifestations of his attributes and actions. And that is why he started by this verse. Because this verse says, look at how he prolongs the shadow. Basically, look at the universal phenomena. Look at his signs in the universe. You can behold your Lord, you could recognize your Lord by his signs in the book, his spoken signs in the book, and his created signs in the universe. So he's saying, look at his signs in the universe, you will be able to see him. If you reflect on his created signs in the universe. And likely that's what the Shaykh intended. And then the Shaykh says, al-Mu'ayanatu thalath, there are three types of beholding or Mu'ayana. إحداها مُعَايَنَةُ الْأَبْصَارِ, the first is the beholding of the eyesight. The first is the beholding of the eyesight. So he will say, you have three eyes. You have the eyes of your head, you have the eyes of your heart, and you have the eyes of your spirit. The eyes of your head, the eyes of your heart, the eyes of your spirit. And he started by the eyes of your head. These are your physical eyes. The eyes that see objects, that see forms, the eyes that see images. So he started by them, and he put them at the bottom. Usually he goes up from the bottom upwards. And he put this at the bottom because this empirical knowledge that you acquire through your senses, your external senses, is at the bottom of knowledge, because it does not avail you if it does not lead you to the other types of knowledge. If you stopped there, that would be Allah is saying in Surah Al-Rum, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. They only know about the exterior, the images, the forms. They don't know about the meanings behind the images, the realities behind the images. So he says Mu'ayanatul Absar is the first one, and he did not expound on it. He just left it because it is obvious. It's what you see with the eyes of your head, and these are the images and the external realities and the forms and the phenomena and the objects of creation, or the created objects. Certainly the eyes of your head would lead you, if you reflect, if you have the proper sort of faculties and you use them, the eyes of your head and your empirical knowledge will lead you to the truth, the realities. Then the Shaykh said, الثانية معاينة عين القلب، وهي معرفة عين الشيء على نعته علما يقطع الريبة ولا تشوبه حيرة، وهذه معاينة بشواهد العلم. The second is the beholding of the eye of the heart, and that is the realization of the essence of things, عين الشيء على نعته, in accordance with their attributes. Not only their external attributes, not only color, shape, size, external attributes, but also the sort of the attributes of its reality. And reality has to always do with cause and purpose. Everything in reality, you know, when we talk about realities, when we talk about transcendent realities, we are always talking about cause and purpose. So if you're always stopping at color, shape, size, you know, that is certainly limited knowledge, and that is certainly not particularly helpful or beneficial. But when you look at anything, you always want to reflect on its cause and its purpose. Where did it come from, and what is it here for? And these are, so this is the realization of the essence of things in accordance with their attributes, not only the external attributes, but the internal attributes, the meaning, cause, purpose. A realization that ends doubt and that is unaccompanied by ambivalence. A realization that ends doubt and that is unaccompanied by ambivalence. وَلَا تَشُوبُهُ حَيْرًا. وهذه معاينة بشواهد العلم. This is the beholding through the indications of knowledge. So the شواهد العلم. This is the beholding through the indications of knowledge. Which ilm is that? That is the ilm of, that is basically the ilm that you acquire through your intellect, but not only through your intellect. We said, you know, how do we acquire ilm? What are the ways that we acquire ilm? Three main ways. Senses reports, So sense reports intellect. Intellect means the innate intellect. It is basically the law of non-contradiction, the law of the excluded middle, the innate intellect. That which is built in, you know, the faculty that Allah, the potency, the potential that Allah had built into us to realize certain things, and we don't disagree over them. We disagree, we agree on the law of non-contradiction, for instance. All human beings do. So that is innate knowledge. Or you could say potency. You could say potency. And then you have the other type of acquisition of knowledge through the senses. And the senses are the external senses. That's the empirical knowledge. You know, because in Islam we don't dichotomize things that are not dichotomized or dichotomizable. So all the disagreements between the continental innatists and the British empiricists over the source. In Islam, we don't need to dichotomize things unless they are dichotomizable, mutanaqid. But if they are not, then we don't need to. So there is that innate knowledge, and there is also the empirical knowledge that you acquire through your senses, but we add to it the internal sense. We add to it the internal sense, which is, in Ibn Taymiyyah's terminology, al-Hiss al-Batin, rahimahullah ta'ala, radiyan. Al-Hiss al-Batin, which is the internal sense. And the internal sense recognizes things that are not recognized by the external senses. You do recognize when you are afraid, you fear, that is, you're quiet, that you're afraid, right? And that internal sense is also the sense with which you recognize God without the reflection. It is the fitri recognition. It is the irresistible, al-ilm al-daruri, the irresistible knowledge where you recognize God. Anyway, and then we have al-khabar al-sadiq, the truthful reports. And we said that when there is concurrence, then certainly that these truthful reports will result in some irresistible knowledge, like China exists, even though you've never seen China, and even though people 100 years ago had sort of no access to, or maybe 200 years ago, they had no access to seeing any pictures of China or anything like that, but they did believe that China exists. So 3 different types of knowledge. So through the indicants of knowledge, and certainly at the top of the pyramid of al-khabar al-sadiq, truthful reports, would be al-wahy, and at the top of this would be al-Quran. So the knowledge that you acquire through the Quran, the spoken signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His book, the created signs of Allah in the universe, you use all of the indicants of knowledge to point you to this type of shuhud and mu'ayyana, to this type of beholding and witnessing. But this is basically the mu'ayyana with the eyes of your heart, the mu'ayyana with the eyes of your heart. And the eyes of your heart, as we said, are more important than the eyes of your head. You could lose the eyes of your head. You could use your eyesight, your physical eyesight, and be fine, and live a good life, and, earn salvation in the hereafter. But if you lose the sight of the eyes of your heart, then you will not be fine. فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. أفلم يسيروا في الأرض، سورة الحج، أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها أو آذان يسمعون بها فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. Have they not walked through earth and had hearts with which they reason, or ears with which they hear? فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ, for it is not the eyes that become blind, وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ, but the hearts and the chests that become blind. Certainly the eyes become blind, but what does Allah mean here when He says it's not the eyes that become blind, but the hearts and the chests that become blind? That is the sort of the consequential blindness. That is the blindness that will destroy you, the blindness of your heart, not the blindness of your eyes. Then the Shaykh said, الثالثة معاينة عين الروح. الثالثة is, the third is the beholding of the eye of the spirit. وهي التي تعاين الحق عيانا محضا, and that is the eye that beholds the reality with complete clarity. والأرواح إنما طهرت وأكرمت بالبقاء لتعاين سناء الحضرة. In fact, the spirits only become pure and honored with subsistence to behold the light of the divine presence. وتشاهد بهاء العزة, and witness the splendor of the divine might. وتجذب القلوب أو وتجذب القلوب إلى فناء الحضرة. فناء, not فناء, فناء الحضرة. And pull the hearts to the vicinity of the divine presence. Pull the hearts to the vicinity of the divine presence. So, معاينة عين الروح. The third is the beholding of the eye of the spirit. So we were talking about the eye of the heart. What is the difference between the eye of the spirit and the eye of the heart? The eye of the spirit is basically more potent, is more purified, is capable of penetrating through forms and images, capable of beholding the ultimate reality behind all the realities, capable of piercing through all of the realities to behold the ultimate reality. And they always divide, in the Sufi terminology, they divide, they have this classification of nafs and qalb and heart. They consider them to be three different levels. The lowest is the nafs, and then the heart would be second. The nafs becomes a heart with purification. The heart becomes a spirit with purification. So the nafs, the purified nafs then becomes a heart. That's why Shaykh Abdul Qadir was talking to someone, and he said, he was asking him, questions about, ultimate realities and spirituality and so on and so forth. And he said to him, how could I tell you any of that when you are all nafs? There is nothing, your nafs has encroached on all of your faculties. You are all nafs. You will not be able to realize or to recognize any of such discourse or such knowledge. In the Quran and the Sunnah, the nafs and ruh have been used interchangeably. And so the nafs can sometimes be, the ruh can sometimes be described as ruh al-kafir, and the nafs can be described in the Quran as nafs al-mutma'inna, ya ayatuha nafs al-mutma'inna, O you tranquil nafs, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya, return to your Lord, well pleased or satisfied with complete satisfaction. So they have been used interchangeably, but for the sake of classification, it is fine, basically to assign. And why did they choose this? Because although they have been used interchangeably in the Quran, but most of the time nafs had been used in a lower, sort of the context of the lower nafs, the nafs that is mixed with the lusts and the lower desires. The lower desires, not only the carnal, fleshy desires, but all the lower desires. Anything that is other than Allah, which is called the siwa, other than Allah, is a lower desire. So the nafs is the one that has all those lusts and all of those lower desires, and usually would be described in a negative sense, although not always. So that is why the masters of the past have chosen a nafs to describe a certain phenomenon that is different from ar-ruh, to describe a certain entity that is different from ar-ruh. So anyway, so that's why Shaykh made this classification and put the eyes of the heart in the second level and the eyes of the spirit in the third level. So mu'ayanat ayn al-ruh, the third is the beholding of the eye of the spirit. وهي التي تعاين الحق عيانا محضا. And that is the eye that beholds the reality with complete clarity. And that is basically not all, here it will behold the reality with a capital R if we're talking about beholding that is not, beholding with the eyes of the head. If we're talking about beholding, that spiritual beholding, then yes, then the reality here would be with a capital R. And al-haq with a capital R is what? Because al-haq means the truth, and al-haq means the reality. Could be with a small t, small r, capital T, capital R. When it is with a capital R, then we are referring to Allah, God, or a capital T. And when it is with a small t or a small r, we're talking about the realities of existence. All of them, cause, purpose, meaning, all the realities of existence behind the images. So this could be a type of beholding where you, sort of, so it could be this or it could be that. So mu'ayanat ayn al-ruh, the third is the beholding of the eye of the spirit, and that's the eye that beholds the reality with complete clarity. With complete clarity, iyanan mahdan, what we said before, and we repeated so many times, that you do not behold your Lord with the eyes of your head in this life. As Allah says, "La tudriku al-absar," as the Prophet ﷺ said, "تعلموا أنه لن يرى أحد منكم ربه حتى يموت." In Sahih Muslim, it's reported from Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. تعلموا أنه لن يرى أحد منكم ربه حتى يموت. Learn that none of you will see their Lord until they die. It is also in Tirmidhi, تعلمون أنه لن يرى أحد منكم ربه حتى يموت. You know that you will never see your Lord until you die. So we're clear on this. So if the Shaykh means by complete clarity, it is still the spiritual eyeing. It is still the spiritual eyeing. Then you could have complete clarity, which means here a higher degree of certainty. Just a higher degree of certainty. And that is all. And that's all you can get to. And the greatest of the Arifin, that is all they can get to. If Musa alayhi salam was not granted the honor of beholding the Lord with his eyes in this dunya, then no one beneath him will be. And as we said last time, the Prophet ﷺ also saw him with the eyes of his heart, or the eyes of his spirit, in the ascent, in al-Mi'raj, according to the stronger position. Okay, and then the Shaykh said, وَالْأَرْوَاحُ إِنَّمَا طَهُرَتْ وَأُكْرِمَتْ بِالْبَقَاءِ لِتُعَايِنَ سَنَاءَ الْحَضْرَةِ. In fact, the spirits only become pure and honored with subsistence to behold the light of the divine presence. وَتُشَاهِدَ بَهَاءَ الْعِزَّةِ, and witness the splendor of the divine might. وَتَجْذِبَ الْقُلُوبَ إِلَى فِنَاءِ الْحَضْرَةِ, and pull the hearts to the vicinity of the divine presence. So now the Shaykh seems to be talking about subsistence as the ultimate, right? Because he's saying that your ruh will be purified. It will go through the trials and tests and the suluk in the tariq, traveling the path of purification, all to the end, to be what? To be honored with that sanctified subsistence with al-baqa. So it seems, despite the fact that the Shaykh always talks about, particularly in this phase or in this level, the third level, he's always talking about self-annihilation, but it seems that he is, particularly in this station, putting baqa as an ultimate goal, which is subsistence by Allah, with Allah, for Allah. Because he's saying, وَالْأَرْوَاحِ إِنَّمَا طَهُرَتْ وَأُكْرِمَتْ بِالْبَقَاءِ لِتُعَايِنَ سَنَاءَ الْحَضْرَةِ وَتُشَاهِدَ بَهَاءَ الْعِزَّةِ وَتَجْذِبَ الْقُلُوبَ إِلَى فِنَاءِ الْحَضْرَةِ. The spirits only become pure and honored with subsistence. That's the sanctified subsistence, to behold the light of the divine presence and witness the splendor of the divine might and pull the hearts to the vicinity of the divine presence. And as we said, this is right. This, al-baqa is the ultimate station. Al-baqa is the station of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, who were well grounded, well aware of their surroundings, and were participating in the life of this world with full awareness, full consciousness. And that never distracted them from dedicating their life with complete devotion to the service of their Lord and the beholding of their Lord. And they were beholding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every action and inaction throughout their lives. So, as we said before, you do need the ontological self-annihilation is neither possible nor required. the ontological self-annihilation, where your self, your will, completely vanishes, is neither possible nor required. Because it is the concept, because that will have to be based or founded on the concept of faid or emanation, that we emanated from the divine and we can have a reunion with the divine. If we vanish, then we will reunite with the divine. As Sunni Muslims, Sunni Tasawwuf does not teach this. As Sunni Muslims, we cannot believe in this. We don't believe in faid, we believe in the act of active creation. Allah created us ex nihilo, from nothing. We did not emanate from the that of the divine or the divine ipseity. We are His creation from nothingness, from Adam, and our reunion with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reunion of a shuhud. It is reunion of conformity to His will, our will conforming to His will, and being, Him being the focus of our attention, the object of our adoration and our worship, being absorbed into Him in that sense, where we forget about ourselves, we forget about our desires, and we always have focus, or we have a complete focus on Him and His pleasure subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, as we said before, that the level of baqa, to subsist with Allah, for Allah, by Allah, to cross to this, you never need to cross through fana in the sense of ontological fana, or in the sense of the complete crushing of your nafs, but certainly many aspects of fana that they talk about, the Sunni aspects of fana, which is to not be distracted or distractible by siwa al-ghayr, anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to have complete focus and be completely attentive to your Lord, and to also have complete conformity of your will with the divine will. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يكون هواه تبعا لما جئت به. None of you will have faith until their desire is in complete conformity with that which I have brought forth. That type of fana, that type of Sunni fana, or these aspects of fana, are necessary for baqa. Because many times we could say, we always try to comfort ourselves and by saying that we're fine, and Allah did not ask us to give up the dunya, and Allah did not ask us to do this. You can have both, and you can. But most of the time, we're not also learning that there is the sacrifice, and you have to sacrifice your ego in order for you to get to that station of baqa, or subsistence with Allah, by Allah, for Allah. You can't just jump to that station. There are many aspects of fana that you have to go through. You have to certainly put your nafs, your ego, on a diet, and to some extent, at some point, emaciate your ego to a point where it does not encroach upon your ruh. And it does not cause you hindrance or impediment in your travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, as much as we want to say, no, you could be this and you could be that, you could be a doctor and you could be like a righteous person, and you could be and you could have a lot of money and drive fancy cars, and at the same time, it's all in your heart. That is true. But how do you reach there if you have not taken these things out of your heart? And if you have not sacrificed your ego, and if you have not tested yourself to ensure that what you care about the most, or what you care about at the end of the day, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure. And these things are just means through which or by which you draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so there is a bridge that you need to cross. Before you could say, Uthman ibn Affan had this and Abdurrahman ibn Auf had, yes, they did. And it did not preclude them from being in the highest of stations. Certainly, these are stations that we may never, reach. You will never reach the station of al-Ashara al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah. However, at one point, they were able to give up everything, to walk away from everything. Are you able to? Yes, certainly they had all of those things, and they were wealthy, and they did not abandon the pleasures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created for us or had granted us. But at one point, Abdurrahman ibn Auf and Uthman ibn Affan were able to make the decision to give up everything and walk away from everything. Are we? So they did cross that bridge and finally reached that sort of baqa, subsistence with Allah, for Allah, by Allah. And certainly when I say this, you will have you have to make that, you have to make those sacrifices when they are warranted and needed. You just don't sacrifice to test yourself, but you have to be ready to make those sacrifices when they are warranted and needed. And this is something also that you want to be wise about, and not hasty or not rush into it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to live by Him, for Him, with Him, and to reach that level of baqa, because that is the ultimate goal. Spirits only become pure and honored with subsistence. That's the sanctified subsistence, to behold the light of the divine presence and witness the splendor of the divine might and pull the hearts to the vicinity of the divine presence. And when you get into a little argument, your blood boils, and you think about it for a week, and you think that you are in baqa, and you are living for Allah, by Allah. And when your ego can be triggered by the sort of at the least poke, no, that you have to understand that you will have to cross the bridge, and the bridge is not easy to cross. So talking, let's not also comfort ourselves to the point of delirium or delusion. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.